How low can he go? I mean, it's unbelievable. The polling numbers show how upset Americans are with the President of the United States right now, because what we are seeing effectively is a kind of big government gone wild. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Trish Regan Show. I am Trish, and just a quick reminder, make sure that you do download this podcast on Apple iTunes or on Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, and go to trishintel.com. Subscribe to my newsletter. It's out every single day, and you'll get a look at all the news that I'm following and that we're covering at trishintel.com. But my goodness, look, Americans are tired of it. They are sick and tired of the health crisis, which has now turned into all kinds of government mandates with new rules and regulations concerning any business bigger than 100 people, 100 employees. When you consider the health crisis along with the Afghanistan disaster, which is turning into a refugee crisis. We've got people coming to this country that we haven't even properly vetted. The federal government not even willing to share what kind of guidelines and vetting process that they have engaged in. Texas is like livid about it. And then the inflation numbers, which we're getting another read on today and another read next week. I mean, they are bad. They are showing us that there is real inflation in this economy. And I know that a lot of people on the left right now want to spin this as, well, you know, everything's inflating and wages are going up too. And isn't it great that wages are going up? Wages aren't going up. Not when you actually look at real wages, which apparently these reporters in big media failed to do because they're being spoon-fed something, I guess, by the White House. When you look at real wages, you actually see that real wages, these are the ones that are adjusted for inflation, are down 1.2% in the past year. But you know what? Americans get that. And that's why Joe Biden has sunk to a new low. I mean, I feel like I'm telling you every single day about some new poll that's come out, and they just keep getting worse and worse. But this one's really bad. Okay, this is according, you ready for it? This is according to the Economist YouGov poll. 39%, just 39% approve of the president and the job he's doing right now. Just 39%. I mean, that's really bad. 49% disapprove. You know, you gotta, I mean, I can't think, as long as I've been reporting, of any president that has seen numbers quite like this. It is collapsing as we speak, and it's going to keep on getting worse because he's throwing a whole bunch of stuff out there, but it's so disorganized, just like our exit from Afghanistan, that it's clear it's actually going to have a pretty detrimental effect on people's sentiment, on the economy, and frankly, on our security. I mean, one of the jobs of our federal government is to keep us safe and secure, but we are now learning that we have all these people, thousands and thousands and thousands of refugees coming into this country from Afghanistan, a country, by the way, which, you know, allowed Al-Qaeda to exist, Al-Qaeda, which attacked us, and those memories are still raw and real from 9/11 20 years ago. And now we have all these refugees coming in from this country. You know, I'm sure 99.9% of them are wonderful people, but what about the risk that some of them may have been purposely sent ahead of the 9/11 anniversary? I'm just saying, if you don't vet everyone properly and share the vetting process, what are you leaving us vulnerable to? We learned through Fox News of a case of measles at one particular refugee camp. Afghanistan, by the way, has one of the highest measles rates in the entire United States. And if there's all this talk of vaccines and keeping our population safe, I think that there's a need for some consistency here. And the consistency would include making sure that people who come here have the proper paperwork and have been properly vetted. I really don't think it's that much to ask before they disperse into society. Ken Paxton out of Texas is pretty upset, and he was quoted recently, just yesterday actually in the media. There's a piece on Breitbart saying, look, you know, we can't really allow this because we don't know what the vetting process is. The federal government has not shared that with us. Why not share that? I mean, why not make sure that every state that welcomes refugees can feel really comfortable about doing so. That doesn't seem like too much to ask. And so back to the poll for just a moment. I mean, you can see how disgusted I think so many American voters are. 45% disapprove of the president's handling of coronavirus. 45%. On jobs and economy, 47% disapprove. And on Afghanistan, because you know what? That was hard. That was really, really hard to watch. And we lost 13 members of our military, kids who had their whole lives ahead of them. 13. Hundreds of others were killed in that terrorist attack at the Kabul airport. 55% disapprove of Joe Biden's handling of Afghanistan. I'm surprised it's not even higher, but you have a lot of Democrats in that number. I mean, look, he's done a lousy job on some pretty important things. I've told you before, I kind of anticipated this on the economic front. I didn't quite realize how significantly bad it could be on the international front. But it is, okay? It is. In my view, this has just been a total disaster. And I say that, you know, really wishing I could say something different, because he's the President of the United States, and it's important that this country succeed and this country be a role model, frankly, for other places, right, all around the world. But that's not what we're seeing. I want to get back to some of the economic stuff here as well. Just again, a reminder, everyone, sign up for my newsletter. You can sign up for my newsletter at trishintel.com. Trishintel.com is the website, and we have all the news that we're covering there from an economic standpoint, markets, politics as well. So do sign up. But speaking of markets and the economy, these inflation concerns really are piling up, and that's part of why I think he's struggling right now. Aside from the vaccine mandates and mask mandates and concerns about Afghanistan, all of which are very raw right now, you have the very real issue of inflation. And again, we're getting an important read today, and we've got another really important read coming out next month. But the reality is inflation is here, and it doesn't show any signs of dissipating anytime soon. Now, that's a problem, because it sort of acts like a tax on everyday Americans. I mean, you know, when you go and you have to pump up your gas tank and it costs $20 or $30 more, that's real money, right? Money that you don't have to spend on other things. When you see that the price of diapers is up 14%, I mean, that one just gets me. That one gets me, because I think that that's hurting so many young families. 14% increase in diapers. It's not like wages are going up 14%, right? Wages are barely ticking higher, and then you factor in inflation, and so they're actually going down. Real wages, again, down 1.2%. So people are recognizing this. They're frustrated. They're angry. And it's reflected in his poll numbers. But I like to think about what you can do about it as well, right? Because inflation is real. It is here. It is going to get worse. It's been bad, really, for the last 20 years. Now, I know a lot of people are like, oh, you know, the Fed is really managing inflation. We've hardly got any inflation. It's pretty amazing. And that's true, except when it comes to, or had been true, I should say, had been true, except when, you know, it comes to education, when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to housing costs. These are very real costs that people have to manage. And so while inflation may not show up in some of the data that the Fed is watching, it is showing up in everyday Americans' lives. And it has been there for years now, right? So one of the best ways to hedge against inflation, I've said it and I'm going to say it before, I'm going to keep saying it, because I want to make sure that you are hedged, and there's different ways. You know, one is to be in the market itself, one is to be in real estate, and perhaps one of the less risky ways, really just because it's a proven investment that has stood the test of time, is to be invested in gold. Gold has held its value, it has increased in value, and I would expect that we will see it increasingly move higher in an environment where you have more inflation. I mean, look, they're not making any more gold. They are making more dollars, right? They're printing. And that's not going to stop, because I think the Federal Reserve has figured out, one, that they can do this, and two, that they need to do this. Because just imagine if they stopped printing altogether and U.S. Treasury rates actually traded at, you know, fair value in terms of the yield, we wouldn't be paying, 1.3% on a 10-year. You'd be more likely to be paying something in the 3, 4, 5% range. And once those levels go that much higher, then the interest on the debt itself becomes less and less manageable, right? So the Fed has every incentive to try and make this as manageable as possible. It's one of the reasons why they were out there doing the bond buying program that they've been busy with. That's expected to wane, but I'm not so sure they can easily pull away from that given some of the employment numbers we've seen, including last month's jobs report. I mean, last month's jobs reports kind of said it all. Economists were looking for upwards of 700,000 jobs. They got 235,000 jobs instead. These are the numbers that the Fed is watching. So the Fed may not feel confident enough in really pulling back from its bond buying purchasing program. So all of this is a long-winded way of saying you need to be looking at gold. And when you do, call my friends at Legacy Precious Metals. You can tell them I sent you. 1-866-589-0560, 1-866-589-0560. I want to make sure that you are protected. We all need to look out for ourselves and our own portfolios in this environment that is filled with plenty and plenty of inflation. But, we've got a government right now that increasingly has made it clear they want things their way. So whether that means forcing businesses to test employees on a weekly basis, which is a significant amount of cost for businesses, whether that means requiring businesses, more than 100, to make sure that people are vaccinated, whether that means more taxes, right? Because there's this desire to take from those that are earning and redistribute to those that are not. I mean, these are all big government things. One of the best examples of this also includes Elizabeth Warren. Senator Warren came out this week and said that Amazon needs to restack its algorithms because she's accusing it of spreading misinformation, disinformation and lies about the vaccine because people are buying certain books. And when they buy certain books, well, that bumps those books higher in the algorithms, and she doesn't want people having access to those books. So look, this is a time that is going to grow increasingly, or become, I should say, increasingly more of a challenge, right? Because I think that the government feels somewhat empowered to go out there and mandate all kinds of things that effectively, if you're a libertarian, you say, well, I ought to be able to read what I want to read. If people are buying the book, I ought to be able to see that, right? You don't need to hide that from me. And I need to be able to run my business to the best of my ability as a business, as opposed to having big government in there telling me how to do it and who can work for me and who cannot. And so there's a lot of things going on right now. It is a challenging time, and it's why I'm here every single day, and I'm going to keep being here every single day for you. So do me this favor, go to trishintel.com. There are a lot of people that just don't want my point of view, your point of view, a lot of point of views heard. And so I think it's up to us collectively to really make sure that we seek out the truth and we seek out information. And for that, I thank you. If you have already subscribed, thank you very much. Do make sure that you're subscribing to the podcast, to this channel as well, on YouTube, on Rumble, on IGTV, and on Facebook. I am so glad to have you here. I want you to have a terrific weekend. And look, I think that the good news here, the sort of upshot that we can take away, is that there is or will be accountability. Voters are tired of seeing such disastrous results from their government, and that's why you're seeing approval and disapproval ratings such as we currently are. Thanks again for tuning in. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you right back here on Monday.